As we work to reawaken Château de Purnon, each week is a whirlwind of activity and chaos. With projects both outside and inside the chateau, sometimes it's a challenge to keep track of each element of this huge restoration. And of course, there's always unexpected surprises, some more unpleasant than others. This week, we take you with us on a journey of what a week at Château de Purnon throws at us. It's Sunday, and the week kicks off with a professional arborist, Nicolas, who has offered to cut down several dead or problematic trees that we've been too timid to tackle ourselves. If left to fall on its own, this large pine could cause major damage to the eastern outbuilding or crash the chateau's monumental gates. It's going to create a huge amount of work for us cleaning up over the coming week. Some of the wood is destined to be lumber, and other large pieces will be stored for future use in the chateau's heating system. It's Monday and the start of the working week for our artisans, and a team of our stonemasons have been allocated the task of excavating the chateau's original 18th century drainage system.
Well, things here at the front of the chateau are very noisy, very messy. As we explained to you last week, our architect has instructed our stonemasons to uncover the original 18th century network of drains that evacuated water from the terrace, from the front here of the chateau. They are gradually finding the 18th century drains and following the drains to understand where the water evacuated to. It is noisy, it is messy, and the work is quite painstaking as they work to very delicately uncover each of the 18th century drains.
This is without a doubt the most hidden of Purnon's entresols, so mezzanines, the most secret of them really, because it is accessed through what looks like a cupboard. These mezzanines sit between two floors and they were always used for domestic staff. So these would have been maids or valets rooms. There's actually 2 rooms here in this mezzanine, and we have a very exciting project that we are about to start work on, and we will go through this project in greater detail as the project progresses. But these rooms are going to house Purnon's incredible archives. We have documents that date back to before the revolution. We need to ensure that they are stored safely. But we have 2 things that we need to do quite urgently in this room before we can get started on any other works, and that is we have done an electrical plan, and so our electrician is coming tomorrow, hopefully. And the second thing we need to do is to order the lime wash. So these walls were originally lime washed, and we see that a lot in the domestic staff's rooms because the decor in these rooms was very simple. And so you can see this has got quite a light coloured lime wash, a cream lime wash. It's quite chalky, but underneath it is the original 18th century lime wash and the original colour. And we always here at Purnon like to ensure that we go back to how the chateau was in the 18th century. So my task right now is to clean a section of this wall, find the original 18th century colour and match that colour with one of Farrow and Ball's lime washes, and then get that ordered so that we can start preparing these walls and add the lime wash as soon as our electrician has done the work to install the electricity. So let's have a look what we find. Now our architect has requested that we leave the windows, that we don't actually paint them for the moment because these have never been repainted. These are the original paint, so they are in quite horrible condition. So we'll have a look at that as the project progresses. I'm just going to clean the wall a little bit. And the lime wash that's here, surprisingly, is not in too bad a condition. We will be able to apply the new lime wash straight over the top of it in most places once it has a really good clean. But you can see here, this is a patch of the original colour that's sitting under this lime wash. And I'll come back when that's dry. So this is now dry, so we can get quite a good look at this colour. It's got a quite green tinge to it, and so what I will do is I will use Farrow and Ball's colour swatches to match the colour, and then we will do a test and show the architect. Shaded white. That is a very good match. Shaded white is definitely our winner. So that's great. We will now order that and we will be able to do a test in time for our next meeting with our architect. He comes once a month, and so we'll have that ready for him to have a look at in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, for those of you who joined us recently for our video where we covered fire protection here at Purnon, you would be familiar with Captain Monty because he came to visit us and help us put in place the fire protection plan. He is back today with his team to do training with the drones to teach new drone pilots. Donc, dites-moi ce que vous faites aujourd'hui au château.
Alors, moi je suis référent de la spécialité drone au sein des sapeurs-pompiers de la Vienne. Et à ce titre, on s'entraîne en fait pour améliorer nos compétences de télépilotage de drones sur des situations opérationnelles. Voilà. Piloter un drone quand tout va bien, c'est super. L'idée, c'est vraiment de le faire en se mettant des contraintes opérationnelles. Donc là, en l'occurrence, mes collègues sont en train de survoler un champ qui a à peu près 1 kilomètre d'ici, dans l'idée de calculer la surface du champ très rapidement, parce qu'on estime dans notre scénario que le champ est en train de brûler et qu'on a besoin rapidement de savoir quelle est la surface qui est brûlée, parce que ça va intéresser nos autorités.
Ok.
Voilà.
Et pourquoi vous avez choisi de faire le truc ici aujourd'hui au château? Alors,
pourquoi ici? Parce que déjà on s'était rencontrés, comme vous l'avez dit, il y a quelques semaines, parce que vous m'aviez interrogé sur des problématiques de défense incendie de votre château.
Oui.
Puis c'est vrai qu'en regardant ici, vous avez un site qui est tellement vaste, qui est tellement beau, que ça se prête énormément à plein de scénarios.
Oui.
Que ce soit le scénario que je viens d'évoquer tout à l'heure, on peut faire des scénarios, effectivement, on va, avec les caméras thermiques de nos drones, regarder, essayer de scanner en fait la toiture, parce que typiquement sur des bâtiments comme ça, ce qu'on craint, c'est des feux de toiture.
Oui.
On peut faire de la recherche de personnes dans les massifs forestiers que vous avez dans votre propriété. Voilà. Donc, et puis on n'embête personne, à part vous, mais vous nous avez gentiment accueillis, donc voilà.
Et ça arrive beaucoup que vous utilisez les drones quand il y a un incendie?
Alors ça utilise beaucoup. Aujourd'hui, dans la Vienne, on n'a pas encore ce recul parce que la spécialité drone, elle est toute neuve, toute récente, elle date du mois de juin dernier.
Ah oui,
voilà,
ok.
donc, voilà. C'est pour ça qu'on est encore en formation. En revanche, déjà depuis le mois de juin, on a engagé les drones une petite dizaine de fois, notamment cet été sur des feux de culture.
Okay.
Voilà. On a engagé aussi les drones sur un feu avec un poids lourd qui avait brûlé. Voilà, des choses un petit peu comme ça, ou a posteriori d'une intervention pour faire un peu des enquêtes après l'intervention, parce que ça permet de voir des choses qu'on ne voit pas lorsqu'on est au sol.
Mais le but, c'est dans l'avenir d'utiliser les drones plus et plus.
Bien sûr, c'est pour ça que là aujourd'hui on forme 5 télépilotes qui vont avoir une capacité du coup de disponibilité plus importante que celle qu'on avait depuis le mois de juin, et dans l'idée effectivement c'est de pouvoir proposer aux commandants des opérations de secours l'action et la plus-value que peuvent apporter les drones plus fréquemment et plus régulièrement que ce qu'on ne fait aujourd'hui.
Well, it's Thursday, the rain has well and truly settled in, but our stonemasons have made great progress exposing the original drainage systems that exist here on the Chateau terrace. So firstly, you can see the 18th century system. And the thing about the 18th century system is that it is very deep, and that tells us that when the chateau was being constructed, we're really on the high ground, and as the foundations of the chateau were built up, it would have been relatively easy to install a system like this. And the second thing about it is that it's in really good condition. Despite being blocked in a few places, the actual drains themselves are really pretty clear. You can see the lines, they've held up really well over the last 2.5 centuries. They're capped off with these stone pieces here, and so when we lift them off, we get a really good look inside as to the condition of the original drain. And our stonemasons have made really some quite amusing discoveries while they've been uncovering these. They found here this jaw and tusk from a sanglier or a wild boar. How it found its way into the drain channel, goodness knows, but that's what they uncovered. And then a few pieces of the 19th century pipe. So let's have a look at the 19th century system, because that's the system that was put on top of this 18th century drain. And if you look here, you can see it's a concrete pipe, and the pipes that were used at the end of the 19th century when the down pipes were installed on the facade of the chateau for the first time consist either of these concrete pipes or cast iron pipes. And this is the system that really has not stood up well to time at all. You can see here it turns at a right angle, which in and of itself is not necessarily a great thing in a pipe anyway, but it's really completely degraded, totally blocked, and it's no surprise that when Flick and I first arrived at the chateau in 2020, whenever it rained, water would collect here on the terrace. It would be 10, 15 centimetres deep, and we would have to sweep it away with brooms because this system was completely blocked and really had totally failed. The cast iron, even though it's very, very strong, it's also very brittle, and when heavy vehicles drove over the terrace, it was bursting these pipes, and we'd see water percolating up to the surface telling us there'd been a leak, and we'd have to dig up the terrace and dig out these old cast iron pipes. So really the 18th century system, very well constructed, and but for those few blockages, it's still in really good condition. And then the 19th century system hasn't really stood up so well and was inevitably going to have to be bypassed or replaced in some way. So that's what our stonemasons have uncovered here today as they've been digging up all of this earth on the terrace. But in the meantime, Seb, our master stone cutter, has been working on one of our doors in the basement. Let's go and have a look at the progress that's being made for the restoration of one of Purnon's doors.
Well, it is Friday afternoon. It is nearly the end of the working week for our stonemasons, who have had a huge week working here at the front of the chateau, uncovering the original 18th century drains. Today they have now started the restoration process, but they have come across an unexpected challenge. So the drains are actually blocked right underneath the front stairs to the chateau. These are the stairs that are the main stairs up to the chateau's entrance. They worked with a high pressure hose to try and unblock this drain. They have not been successful in doing that. And so now, in consultation with our architect, a decision is going to have to be made about how to progress here, because what it's looking like at the moment is the only way to unblock this drain that is blocked right under the stairs is to actually remove the stairs. So a decision yet to be made on that, but we will keep you updated, of course.
Well, it's All Saints' Day, Toussaint as they call it in France, the 1st of November, and on this day French people visit the cemetery, they take the time to remember their ancestors, and they often lay chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemums are the flower that mark All Saints' Day, and so we're going to pop down to the cemetery in Farrow in our local commune and pay our respects and remember the Achard de la Haye family and the de Rochequerie family, who were before us the former owners of Château de Purnon. Let's go.
So these are the graves that we've located, or what remains of them, of the Achard de la Haye family. This is the first family that lived at Purnon, that constructed Purnon, and it's not completely clear which graves are whose. We know some of them but not others.
Yep.
And so we thought we would just lay some chrysanthemums for the family in general today.
Okay.
I think this was Catherine and Edward, actually, the two that were side by side.
We did discuss this in an earlier video, in the video about Adelaide, their daughter who had the somewhat sad life, and many of the details we don't know, but we know that she died at a relatively young age. Her plot is the one that we can't find, and so there's a lot of speculation as to perhaps where she her final resting place was, and if in fact it was even here in the cemetery at all. So we can't be sure, but the other members of the family, we know the plot numbers, but they're very degraded, and we should say that we're in a cemetery that belongs to the commune, so it's public land. We're not on the chateau estate at the moment, and so really it's not for us to interfere with these in any way, or to seek to restore them or anything like that.
And the commune does keep the cemetery very beautifully maintained.
It does, yeah.
They're maintained as best they possibly can. And a lot of the text has actually vanished, so it's really just the records of the commune that allow us to know which graves are whose. So we have just by chance run into Pierre de Rochequerie, who is one of the former owners of Purnon, and we are looking at some of the graves of some staff that used to be associated with the chateau, and then also the graves of the Achard de la Haye family, who were the first family. Mais Pierre, est-ce qu'on peut regarder le tombe de Rochequerie, de votre famille?
Bien sûr. c'est ce qu'on appelle un caveau familial, dans lequel sont enterrés, si on commence par les plus anciens, mon arrière-grand-père, Daniel, marquis de Rochequéry, donc le premier propriétaire Rochequéry de Purnon.
Oui.
L'une de ses épouses, puisqu'il a épousé 2 sœurs.
Oui.
Une qui est morte très jeune.
Avec
et du coup, il a épousé sa belle-sœur,
oui,
qui a élevé ses enfants,
oui,
dont mon grand-père.
Oui.
Donc mon grand-père Pierre, marquis de Rochequéry, qui est né en 1892 de mémoire et mort en 1969.
69, oui.
Ma grand-mère, Albertine Augustine Valentine, que tout le monde appelait Valentine, oui, et elle avait un petit surnom, c'était Lolo, parce que quand elle était petite, elle n'arrivait pas à dire Valentine, elle disait Lolo en parlant d'elle.
Ok.
Et pour ses petits-enfants, en France on appelle bon papa, bonne maman, on l'appelait bon Lolo.
Oh, c'est mignon ça.
Voilà.
Mais tout le monde parle très affectueusement d'elle, tout le monde l'adore.
Oui, c'était quelqu'un qui était très aimé dans le village.
Oui.
Notamment pendant la guerre, où elle est partie à un moment dans le Midi, mais autrement elle s'occupait beaucoup des gens du pays. Ensuite, Yves de Rochequéry, qui était le petit frère de mon père, qui est décédé très jeune d'une tumeur au cerveau et qui travaillait à l'époque pour l'entreprise Renault. Il était en mission en Algérie pendant quelques semaines ou quelques mois et sa tumeur au cerveau, qui à l'époque était une maladie qui se soignait très mal, s'est déclenchée là-bas.
Oui.
Il a été rapatrié sanitaire, opéré en France et il n'a pas survécu à l'opération. Il est mort, tu vois, il est né en 25, il est mort en 64, donc il avait 39 ans.
Ok, voilà. Mais c'est un moment très très triste pour la famille.
Oui, c'est un oncle qu'on aimait beaucoup, qui était très drôle.
Oui.
Et qui avait beaucoup de succès auprès des femmes, hein,
oui,
parce qu'il était très drôle.
Oui, j'ai vu les photos et il était très très beau. Voilà.
Et donc ensuite, les 2 derniers qui ont été mis dans le caveau familial, c'est Gilles Robineau, marquis de Rochequéry, mon père.
Oui, donc il est mort en 2013.
Est mort en 2013, voilà. Et la dernière, c'est ma chère maman qui est morte en 2023.
Oui, elle a presque 100 ans.
Elle avait 99 ans et quelques mois. Elle avait 2 challenges. C'était un de mourir plus vieille que la reine d'Angleterre. Donc elle a gagné son premier challenge. Et son deuxième challenge, c'était d'avoir 100 ans. Et malheureusement, à 2 mois près, elle n'a pas eu 100 ans.
Ouais. Voilà. Donc il ne reste pas d'espace ici. Donc personne
ne
peut mourir maintenant.
Maintenant, c'est plein. Et donc, à côté, il y a mon oncle Jean-Pierre, donc le frère de Gilles et d'Yves. Et moi, j'ai acheté une concession pour ma famille juste à côté.
Ah, c'est vrai, ok.
Voilà, on a tous envie d'être enterrés le jour où le jour reviendra, à côté de nos parents. Merci beaucoup.
Avec plaisir.
Et quand on fait toujours une petite prière, nous, pour nos papas et nos grands-parents et nos grands-mères et mères. Et voilà, donc je m'incline devant leur dépouille.
Well, that's it on another huge week here at the Chateau. And I think for me this week, the thing that struck me was the amount of variety in what happened here, from working in the park to the progress of the stonemasons uncovering the original 18th century gutters to some work commencing on a new room, and just so much variety, and actually so much that we couldn't even share. So it's me that edits up the weekly video, and we sort of had to pick and choose this week because there were a lot of other projects that were happening at the same time that we just couldn't fit all into one video. So
a big week.
Well, and what struck me is just the importance that being part of the local community has come to play in our lives. Because when we first arrived, I really thought it was going to be all about the project itself. But of course, in a small rural community like this, we've been welcomed so warmly from as soon as we arrived. And now so much of our lives is caught up in being part of this community. So having the firefighters here, really, we have so much respect for the work that they do. Our friends, the former owners of the chateau, we'd never met them until we arrived here, and they've become such good friends, and so telling the stories of the people who lived here has become as important as the restoration has been. And so really that's what I took away from it, just how much of our lives now is focused on being part of this local community.
Yeah, it is a really wonderful community. I feel like we're very fortunate to have such a tight-knit community around us. But talking about community, you are our biggest community, and next week for YouTube we are going to answer all of your questions, because we are getting a lot of questions, and every week we try to answer all the questions that we receive here on YouTube. But next week's video is going to be dedicated to your questions. So pop all your questions in the comments below, and we won't answer them this week, but in next week's video we will do our best to answer as many of those questions as possible.
And for this week's exclusive Patreon and YouTube members video, we go into detail about the chateau's shutters. We get lots of questions about the shutters, and so we try and address some of those. And so if you're interested in that, please have a look at signing up to Patreon or as YouTube Patreon access members.
Otherwise, that's it from us from a huge week here at the Chateau. And as always, if you would like to follow the restoration of Château de Purnon more closely, we post an exclusive weekly video for our YouTube and Patreon members. We post frequent updates on all our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, and now we are on TikTok. Otherwise, just hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and we will keep you updated here.